The MDS is one of the most iconic ultra races in the world. It's the one race that a lot of multi-day ultramarathons base themselves on. The margins are so small on whether you finish or don't.
It's renowned as the hardest foot race on earth.
There is always the risk that something could happen. You have to make sure everything is in place, just in case.
Every part of me wants to stop, and I can't cool down.
There's one goal, and it's to get from A to B as quickly as possible, and ideally not dying halfway through it.
One simple mistake here, your race is over.
Everything's about extremities. One of the major symptoms for me is this all or nothing approach.
Basically, the more I mess myself up, the longer I feel better.
I did it! No, you didn't.
After you were the first one?
Yeah.
Do you like making your pancakes?
I do, So I've known Simon for probably nearly 5 years. I found out he was into running probably within the first 5 minutes off my interview with him.
It was quite clear from first meeting him that he's all or nothing. You know, he's all in, basically, with everything.
After knowing Simon, he does have those kind of attributes whereby if he wants something, he will go out and get it.
So I first met Simon in Peru on our Jungle Ultra. I think it was his first multi-day at the time, so it was a big step up for him. He started off as a client and he's become a really good friend of mine over the years.
My name's Simon Blair. I'm a business owner. I was diagnosed with ADHD middle of last year. It's been a journey since then, but I've got 3 children and I'm an ultra runner.
So the Marathon de Salvador is the one in the desert.
Oh, I don't want you to do that.
Why don't you want me to do that?
Because you're going to be gone for like ever.
I'm going to be gone forever.
Yeah. Literally forever.
Actually, Daddy probably doesn't know. When he's away, what do we do when we come home from school and before we leave? What do we do on the computer?
We look where you are.
We track where you
So
are.
you look at where my little dot has moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And panic when it hasn't moved.
Yeah, or it's in the wrong place.
I don't think he's going to make it to the finish line. He can make it close.
Why do you not think that Daddy's going to make it?
He didn't make the last one.
Because you didn't make the last one. I think what Flora is trying to say is that she thinks you will make it, but if you don't, that's okay too. Is that right, Flora?
Yeah. Definitely. It is.
In 2021, post-pandemic, I went and tried to complete the Marathon de Sable. I think with some honesty, I probably wasn't quite mentally match fit. I think it's taken me this long to build myself up to a point where I feel mentally resilient enough to go back to the scene of the original crime.
There's always a danger in terms of doing these kind of things. As his family is concerned, I would have thought that Faye is probably the one who's got the most sort of issues over it.
A big concern for me is Simon being filmed while doing this. It's like an extra pressure. When he starts his run, we have no contact at all. It is just relying on the tracker to see where he is. I'm not settled until he is past that finish line, and then I'm like, fine. I worry. The children miss him.
I think when people think about deserts, they think about, you know, rolling sand dunes and sandstorms. Some things are far more terrifying than sandstorms and rolling sand dunes. Nothingness is more scary than that.
People with Simon's personality type, with Simon's brain, need this. They need this in their life to be able to function and to be the best version of themselves, to keep pushing and keep succeeding.
About 5 or 6 years ago, I took on therapy. I woke up one day and I just didn't feel great. I had that brain fog and that veil of just a shade over my normal lens, you know, my positive lens. And I went and sought therapy and some advice straight away. For me, it's been the best thing that I've ever done, really, for myself.
So Simon's diagnosis came about because I'd been doing a lot of mental health education with his team, so he'd got to know and trust me. He recognised that he can be quite impulsive and energetic, and that's been a real strength at work. But at times it meant that he was distracted or struggled to focus, or other people would say, you know, you're not paying attention, you forget details, things, you know, it's hard sometimes to be all over the detail of things.
But her opening up that discussion for me led to me getting tested. Not surprisingly, it came back fairly clear.
I think it was both a shock and not a shock, really.
I think he was relieved, actually. I think he knew. I think it was just having a label so he could say, right, now I understand.
I think ADHD has been a part of my character for as long as my memories go back. It's only just recently that I've realised how central to my being that is.
But yeah, I think it made sense of a lot of things for him.
The results have been around the idea of understanding. There aren't solutions, there's no solutions. I think, you know, taking drugs to try and help certain byproducts of ADHD is an option. I haven't explored that. For me, it's given me a much greater understanding about who I am, and it's just confirmed something that I probably subconsciously already knew, and now I'm embracing that as like a central principle to what I am.
It's interesting to think, why would Simon, who's really successful at work, want to punish himself out in the desert? But my understanding, just as a spectator with these ultra marathons, is it's a real chance to kind of almost take yourself right to the edge, to find out what you're capable of, to really find out where you know, failure lies. And that's very healthy for the ego. It's really good for the ego to be tested in that way.
Search for balance is now become what I'm aspiring to try and find and retain. But I can't a lot of the time because it's just not natural for that to happen. So the extremities of what ADHD can do to you mentally is that it pulls you one way or the other, just in the most fierce ways.
He's always going to be a driven guy, and this is just the vessel to keep that drive going.
Part of me dreads this event, looking down those long straights and visualising the sand dunes and the memories of the overwhelming heat.
He was facing probably one of the hottest years that race has ever had.
It was a flip of a coin as to whether he was going to finish.
In any race in extreme heat, there's a few things that kind of jump out straight away. The Sahara Desert and the Namib Desert can often go 45, 50 degree heat. With that comes real risk of death by heat stroke, dehydration, and it can happen extremely quickly.
I had the unfortunate experience of running next to this guy, running almost parallel to him when he was collapsing repeatedly. I went to help him. There were some other people there who were doctors. 10, 15 minutes later, I saw a helicopter fly over my head. There was a very solemn, somber announcement that evening. It was announced he died as a result of being on the course.
I was messaging the company going, is Simon Blair okay? I'm Simon Blair's wife. I hadn't heard anything.
It was playing on my mind a great deal because I was already extremely tired and I had nothing left to give without taking some serious risks. And I decided that the best thing for me would be to go home.
When he rang me and said, I'm not going to carry on, I burst into tears because I knew what he would be like if he didn't do it.
I'd never seen him like that after he got back from the MDS with that failure. I'd never seen that Simon before. That was unusual to witness as a friend. As a family, we kept saying how proud we were of him regardless, but after the Marathon des Sables, he was really quite low.
Anyone with ADHD, which I also have, will know that, you know, that we've all got this kind of fixation on certain things and obsessions, and, you know, running in ultramarathons are one of his. And I think him actually putting out is probably braver than continuing. So I think actually full credit to him for going, do you know what, this is getting dangerous now, I'm going to pull it.
I suppose I was actually proud that he stopped because Although I wanted him to continue, I mean, that would have been really dangerous and very stupid.
The whole process is quite long, and all the measuring out of various powders and potions, and then you see it in this form, and you're kind of like, yeah, okay, we're kind of one step closer to being ready to go. Day one,
A lot of sweets.
a lot of sweets. You got day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and day 6, and then all the medical stuff.
Just in case you get hurt.
Just in case you get hurt. Yes.
The first bit really is the logistics. You hear stories and jokes about people cutting their toothbrush in half, but people do, because it saves you a few grams. It's a huge commitment.
Oh, yes. That's perfect.
There's a lot of planning that goes into the successful completion of a race. People with ADHD are often great in a crisis, but not so good in something that needs a lot of preparation.
I've got a lost box. Memory. Memory and retention, forgetting where I put things. I often forget my children's birthdays. I just don't remember.
The memory issues around ADHD are brutal. A surprising number of people find themselves getting an ADHD diagnosis. They've actually gone to the GP saying, I think I might have dementia. Yeah, memory issues are really common.
I think also he's got so much going on in his head. He goes from one thing to another, so trying to kind of keep up with him and keep him focused on what he's doing at one thing at a time. Well, it's quite hard.
The biggest problem he'll have is that he's turning his world upside down to get this done.
He's extremely messy.
Being CEO of a company, you're running an ultramarathon, they are not two things they easily combine. A lot of people with ADHD, they put in, sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly, scaffolding and strategies that have them doing well.
He has got very good at writing like a spreadsheet that he follows. So he will send me that spreadsheet and we just have to tick it off.
If you don't put it in place with real knowledge of self, it's too finely balanced not to fail.
To get ready for any of these things, it sacrifices a lot, and the support network around Simon is also going to feel it. His work colleagues, his family, it's all-encompassing and kind of just consumes your life.
In the run-up to these events, I'm running and focusing on other things, and my emotional and physical time just isn't as present. One of the downsides of ADHD is that it can make you so intent on getting to your objective that actually it can be difficult for people around that when you're fully hyper-focused.
There's a lot of problems that Simon will face with ADHD, but actually when preparing for these sorts of events, there are a lot of things that could fall in his favour. The focus and the obsession with something is definitely going to help him. It's definitely helped him in the past.
When you have 3 children and then holidays when they're not at school, it's quite hard. So I think actually to start with, I was a bit like, well, it's a bit of a desperate measure to take a break from your family.
I'm not sure that I would be able to do these events on a number of different levels if I wasn't supported in the way that I am at home. I'm very fortunate in that way, and my children, have learned from Faye. I think Faye acknowledges that I'm a better person. I'm not made to feel guilty for needing to do this. I think back to my 20s and I wonder how the fucking hell I held any relationship down, to be honest. And, because you're just like, it's so disruptive.
Now he's done a number of them. It's a bit medicinal, really, I think.
I'm going to have to dig deep. I'm aware of that now.
I think running in its nature is quite simplistic. In Simon's case, I think it definitely brings order to the chaos. He's got quite a lot of chaos in his world, in his mind even. Narrowing down the task list for the day, get from point A to B, can definitely just calm the noise a little bit.
Thank you very much.
All you've got to do for 7 days, eat, sleep and run. What an existence.
I mean, for me, it just sounds treacherous, to be honest, so I can't imagine why he wants to go out and do this. People fall very ill and sometimes die on these things.
My brain was bouncing around a bit last night. I think I'll feel some sense of anxiety probably when I see a sand dune, even if it's 2 meters high. It'll probably make me feel a bit peculiar. Probably not how I felt at the beginning of the last one. It was good.
He won't think this now, but if he doesn't finish, he'll also be okay with it. I think he's actually at a point in his journey with this where the result is one thing, but he's realised the journey is important, or he will quite quickly after.
I think he's putting a lot of pressure on himself, unnecessary pressure. I think sometimes the bravest thing is to know your limits and give up. And I just hope that he does know his limits this time around.
He's physically stronger, but mentally stronger too. I think he will be good. He will do well. He better do it. Gosh.
So that gives me anxiety, that thing. It is a sand dune, but it's not a mountain. I think this is probably what I thought about a lot. It's a strange feeling because it's almost dreamlike.
Everybody has a different sort of mindset to things. Some people allow adversity previously in their lives to affect the decisions that they make going forward, and some people use that as a position in order to turn that into a positive.
I have my own objectives because I'm looking to discover myself. I want to understand me and what makes me tick and how I operate. But actually it's becoming far more than that. I want to help people open up a dialogue. ADHD should be looked at as something that can enable people to provide positivity to the world, not blocking them off and not listening to them because they don't hit a certain criteria that we've become used to. You know, and that results in the worst things.
It's getting gradually hotter, so I'm trying to be really sensible, not gun it, probably get halfway through tomorrow and then start thinking about taking some paracetamol and trying to be careful with it with water.
I've been in this game now for 2 decades. I've either been running coaching or designing these races, so I've got to see a lot of people take these journeys on. Simon is definitely one of those people that enjoys the highs and the lows. He wants to be rock bottom. He wants to be in that pain cave, that misery, that thing that's going to ultimately push him to the absolute limit, because he knows, and he's experienced it in the past, that with this low will become a real high. The bigger the low, the higher the high. And it impacted him in a way that has been ultimately life-changing for him.
I think there needs to be a lot more information about ADHD, what it is and what it isn't. I think some people have a very stereotypical view of somebody with ADHD, and they think they might be that loud person at school or that person that sits and fidgets all day. But there are different versions of it for different people, and people will adapt differently.
Predominantly hyperactive is only 15% of people with ADHD. It's a significant proportion of women and girls, and so the idea that it's just a boy running around is just wrong.
People often ask me what ADHD is, and it's one of the ways in which people can be neurodivergent. So neurodiversity means basically brain-based difference, and it means that you experience the world in a different way, how you feel about the world, how you think about the world. So it's really common, and ADHD is about 1 in 20 adults.
I have done the Marathon des Sables in 2019 and 2022. I have ADHD. I try to explain it to people by saying it's like when you have your laptop open. For most, kind of typical thinkers, if they have too many windows open, it drives them crazy. I always have that many windows open. You can get very charged up or very drained. I think just a bit more easier than others, and it's difficult to prioritize sometimes.
I think it's really important as society to understand that there isn't one size fits all with any condition. There are general symptoms, some may be positive, some may be negative, but how a person generally handles it is up to them.
We're all unique individuals plus ADHD.
The event is so vast and so big. It's a bit crazy. So I'm on a journey to try and control the chaos and stop the noise in my brain. And it's not quite like that here, whatever that means.
This isn't just a holiday to me. This is a necessary part of my own life journey. If I don't do these things, I will not perform at the highest level. I'm always aspiring to try and be as good as I can be.
I mean, if I start with the guys in my tent, I might stick with them or track them a bit. But I'm going to run, kind of just get through it. I quite like my own time.
I think he would hold his hands up and say that he struggles with his mental health, and actually running is one of the things that helps.
I feel pretty positive, just got to tick through the miles.
In the case of ultra running, the running itself is the therapy. It's such an odd thing to try and explain to people that actually, when you talk about running ultramarathons, especially multi-stage ultramarathons, people are kind of intimidated by the scale of them. But perhaps they're looking at it in the wrong way or not looking at it through my eyes.
Coming here, it's like a complete swap of mental capabilities and responsibilities. People that hear that I've done this race say, oh, wow, you really like to punish yourself, don't you? And it's a form of judgment where I certainly don't view it as punishment. I view it as push, especially when you have ADHD. If you push yourself to extreme limits, it is actually recharging the batteries. And you go back saying, there was an enormous challenge, and I did that. I am capable. I think people with ADHD really feel that even more than a typical thinker.
So slow going. Kind of just concentrate on getting in other people's steps. Wow, that's cool. Shit. Yeah. Pretty cool. Right, enough of that. This will be here in a million years, so I can come back. Uphills broke my legs in, actually. I didn't really enjoy that bit, but then suddenly running on the sand felt a lot easier.
He potentially uses ultramarathons as a way to keep him in training. You know, training and getting out and exercising is basically medicine. And it's what keeps you kind of focused, your endorphins above, you know, ultimately it's a dopamine deficiency problem. Right, and exercise raises that dopamine level. I think it's almost a bit of an addiction probably on his part in terms of the fact that he needs to do it, and it's to say I've got this ultramarathon in the diary and kind of use it as a bit of a way to manage his day-to-day life really.
Last 15k has been hard. It's all right, my feet are need a little bit of attention, but I really am okay.
I will put 150% and more, leave nothing on the table whatsoever. I don't think that's always healthy. When it's over, this brain fog kind of ensues. At the time that you're going through these periods of brain fog, it seems to be after periods of extreme hyperfocus. You just run out of energy. It's almost like your mind is trying to get some rest. It's extremely frustrating, and it's like a form of depression, probably, but without it taking you down those roads. One of the reasons I love ultra running is it gives me a chance to go away and turn off from all these things, and when I come back, the brain fog has lifted, and actually I have then complete clarity of thinking, and it's just complete peace and straight line decision making. It all makes sense.
Exercise is often talked about as a treatment for ADHD, and there's a really good evidence base for it. It's also used as a treatment for other things like depression. And the reason it's good for the brain, the reason particularly with ADHD exercise is good for the brain, is that it increases noradrenaline and dopamine, and those are low. There are low levels of those in people's brains with ADHD. It increases levels of those chemicals in about 5 minutes, which is quicker than any medicine can work. So it's something a lot of people use to help focus.
Yeah, it was all right. I'm glad it's over. Those second days are awful. I think from the last experience that I had with MDS, I've learned how to treat myself. So like if I feel tired, I'm happy to go and have a rest for 5 minutes. Previously, I'd just run to exhaustion, and then I would have collapsed I'm in a heap, but I'm in a controlled heap. I'm just tired and resting, whereas I'm not delirious today.
Of course, I want the challenge, but actually there's a big part of my mindset that's looking forward to giving my brain a bit of a holiday, and I can just relax on the most basic of things, you know, by like getting to a tree or getting to a corner or, you know, just getting to the end of a day. If it's everything into context, seeing a desert and, you know, just things in their complete natural space without any interferences from us whatsoever, that to me is peaceful. That brings peace to the noise that sometimes comes into my brain, I think.
There is an additional challenge with his ADHD where he's going to have to really focus on some certain areas to be successful. He's going to have to quieten that noise quite a lot.
Today's long stage. We're starting at 6, run for about 3/4 of an hour in the dark. So it's quite a slog to do 85 kilometres. It just so much depends on how tough the first 3 or 4 hours are. Yeah, I'm just not sure what we're going to do yet. The long stage is a pretty huge moment. Once you've cracked it, you've done something. You're well over halfway. So I'm just going to take today really slow and steady. Just tick off the kilometres and the checkpoints and see how I sit by 2 o'clock. And then make a decision about whether I'm going to stay at a checkpoint for 3 hours while the sun settles down, and then go again. Or if I feel good, I'll go. Yeah, last time I didn't do the long stage because the long stage was on the 4th day.
Simon.
So yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's a joker. You are joking. I didn't get to do the long stage because I pulled out on the morning of day 4, and I feel intimidated by it, but I'm just going to clock it off, you know, checkpoint by checkpoint, and have a good look at 2 o'clock and see how I stand.
Oh, the distance today is 85.3 kilometers.
On the long stage, it's going to be hard for them to tap into flow state. All of the other runners around them, intense hunger, intense thirst, which only grows. It will be so hard to get into the zone and stay in it and not be distracted by your sore feet, your 15 blisters, the hot desert sun.
There's some parts of this where Simon's brain will consume knowledge at a rate faster than anyone else. But at the same time, when it comes to the race and it comes to the time where it gets difficult, one simple mistake here, your race is over. Not drink your water on time, not look after a small blister, your race can be done.
amazing coming down. That hill was weirdly quite enjoyable, but I'm just going to really try and stay within myself, don't overdo it. It's dangerous to go too quick. It's getting hot now. Hard work getting over the ridge.
It's amazing, you can't, as timing as it is, you kind of almost like compartmentalise it because it's just so beautiful.
It's getting warmer, it feels hotter than yesterday. Those long straights are going to be the issue because I imagine there's going to be quite a lot of those. The actual gains from running in the heat at the peak of the day on a day like today are just zero. I just don't see any benefit. I've felt in reasonable spirits up until now. These flats, like the one we're about to do, are the ones that cause me damage. So the next 2 stages will be quite big for me. I'm sure I'll revisit some old demons.
A lot of the focus is on the extreme temperatures with these things, but people forget that they're still running 150 miles over 5 days. Even in temperate conditions, you'll still get repetitive strain injuries, hips, knees, ankles, and you have to pay attention to that as well.
Every day you're basically doing a different ultra across some of the most extreme conditions in the world. All the time you're getting stimulated by your environment, by the other runners around you, but you've got this goal in the background. So for some people who are neurodivergent and have ADHD, that might be the perfect sport for them.
I'm a volunteer here at MDS. I was a late diagnosed ADHDer. I always think things end up into buzzwords, you know, and ADHD is a superpower. Well, do you know what? I suppose it's advantageous sometimes, but it's also a hindrance because it's very nerve-wracking sometimes when you just want to be organized and you want to stop fighting with yourself.
Grabbing hold of hyperfocus is a wonderful thing, and it's wonderful if it's the right thing, and it's terrible if it's the wrong thing.
You can't always just hyper-focus on what you want to hyper-focus on. Like something happens and you have to do this, and screw everything else that you were supposed to do because you're hyper-focused on this.
We have a huge problem that it's part of the human experience to have a problem with focus, right? To procrastinate before something, potentially to struggle to focus every now and again. That is not the ADHD experience. The ADHD experience is it's having a debilitating impact on your life. It's exactly the same way that depression isn't sadness, that chronic anxiety isn't anxious on a first date, that OCD isn't a tidy kitchen. Like, they're wildly different things.
As hot as it's been all week, really.
Absolutely brutal. Hot. Really hot today.
got to checkpoint 4, I was pretty roasted. Unpacked our bags, took our shoes off, and just chilled out for about 2 hours. A real lesson in historical learning with these events. I would have just gone on before, and that would have been extraordinarily dangerous. I mean, we're well over halfway now, but drags and drags and drags. My mindset with ADHD it's not suitable for this type of thing. I think one of the reasons I do this is to try and exercise discipline, and I struggle with it. You know, in your head you're like, stop, have a break, stop. You just got to keep going. Every part of me wants to stop when it's like that, but I won't. My biggest problem right now is overheating because my head starts to throb, and I can't cool down. Good, thank you. Great, thank you.
Just because you get off those dunes. Once you get off those dunes, it's a bit hard standing.
That's what I mean, it's like hot.
When you're racing in extreme environments, it's not always about the race, it's about the conditions that you face when you're there. Someone can be fine to needing medical extraction within the space of 20 minutes.
It's certainly arduous. It's so still and there's no wind. You feel like you're baking. You're both going through the same thing. You're both feeling the same emotions. And, you know, together you almost kind of join forces to combat it, as opposed to doing it alone, which can be quite daunting and difficult, particularly in an environment like this, when there's two of you with the same goal. You can kind of sort of drive each other on. He's been great, telling me to put my sun cream on and make sure I'm drinking and so on and so forth. So.
This is the best way to get to know anyone. There's nothing, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from or what your background is, you are what you are. And that is, that to me is probably the most exciting thing.
When you're halfway through a race, like the MDS, you almost certainly got something happening to you that wasn't part of the plan.
Suffering now.
Blisters, could be a whole load of things, but a lot of people will be thinking, this wasn't in my plan, and start to panic. Simon, again, is experienced, so he's seen a lot of these things and will probably stay relaxed.
Very, very, very sore. Feet are really starting to break down now.
A lot of us go into these races to test ourselves physically and mentally, and at some point in the race, we will be utterly broken.
It's been hot all day. Now the sun's going down. One problem disappears, and another one rises. So literally, as soon as the sun's gone down, my feet have just stepped up about 5 years.
When the sun goes down, there's a different set of challenges. The way I would like to run it would be in the daytime. I don't really want to run at night at all. I've never enjoyed running at night.
It's very easy to focus entirely on the physical side, but it's a mental race more than a physical race.
I am so hot. I want water.
So we have still plenty of energy to enjoy this part of the stage. It's not entirely true, of course, but we have to keep the spirit.
Just want it done now, Starting to not think very clearly. That's the problem when you get tired, you just start to fucking... You're just not very organised, are you? You know what I mean? Start to fucking drop the ball. Thing is, you're just getting close to kind of exhaustion.
I'm feeling a little bit dehydrated despite constant drinking every 5 minutes, but we just need to get our heads up and get on.
My children, keep thinking about them. These latter stages, they strip you away of lots of things, and perhaps that's, in a sick way, part of the attraction. That allows me to kind of build up my reserves again in a very strange way. It's extremely intimidating to come back to a place like this and revisit those things. You know, this is a big achievement today. I really am broken. I think smiling and being jovial is kind of my way of placating certain things. You know, normal stuff. ADHD at school, played the fool, disruptive. I guess it got me attention of some kind, which I was attracted to. And that's kind of like stuck with me throughout my adult life too. I do think that's a defense mechanism. It would be good to help myself and people like me not feel like they have to repress their emotion. There's no judgment in running. I love the fact that there's no judgment on where you come from, how much money you have, you know, any of that shit. It's really important.
I think, you know, we're very fortunate in the West, you know, things are getting easier by the day, and I think you need to remember we were born in caves, so we're quite robust bits of kit, as I would like to say, and I think it's good to test that. It puts things into perspective. I'll go away from this better than before I started it, both physically and mentally. Only a bit broken, to be fair, physically.
The thing with these races, you've got to decompress for a bit to figure out what you got out of it. And at the moment, I've just got pain, and I miss my family, which comes part and parcel of it. You sign up to do this stuff, it's going to hurt. Broken. Oh my god. Breathe. Oh my god. There's a lot of very hurt people. A little bit, you know, anxious about going out again tomorrow, but just got to eat today and make sure make the most of the rest and get as much food down as humanly possible.
Some people come here and they think that they are well trained because they did some other races, but it's another story, you know. To live in the desert and to be able to do 250 kilometers, it's another story. Here the problem is the temperature. We have two things, is the heat and your feet. And we are not talking about small blisters like with your shoes in your city. We are talking about some blister like potatoes. That's why you have to take care of your feet every day, okay? Because with the sound, it can be a big problem, and the heat.
I found today that after a long stage like that, I've had a chance to kind of daydream a bit and think about getting over halfway and thinking about how clear it is that most people have got something. The one resounding bit of drive that's coming forward is to help young people who have got something going on that isn't considered normal.
Having a neurodivergent condition such as ADHD has its challenges. Some of those challenges in childhood or when you're a teenager, a young person, can be really difficult. Getting help with that or getting other people to relate to you better, knowing better how you tick, how you can pass exams, talk to people, socialise, all the things that some people take for absolute granted, some people with ADHD really struggle with. There is an increased suicide rate, and that could be possibly addressed by helping people earlier.
All focus should be on trying to avoid people getting to a point where they take their own lives or spiral into some form of
unnecessary depression, whether they're male or female. It does seem to be a common denominator that women feel like they're not talked about enough in regards to ADHD because of the way that they seem to develop when they're young. It's just the void between the two genders, I think, is just less clear because boys seem so much more immature and it just comes to the front earlier.
We have a massive problem in the underdiagnosis, full stop. But we have a bigger underdiagnosis problem in girls. That stereotype, are you a little boy running around and are you disruptive? Whereas a little girl is more likely to be disruptive really to herself. And on top of that, a lot of the research has been male only. And so that understanding of women and girls has not been researched properly and needs to be.
Basically, you should be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about with whoever you want to talk about it with. And that's the bottom line.
My pack feels a lot lighter. I think having a day's rest, it just makes such a difference. But I'm not blind to the fact it's going to be short-lived, so I'm just trying to gun as much as I can until the sun gets hotter. I'm getting stronger, baby.
Well, it's 28.4 degrees now.
Already?
Yep. Great, thank you.
You know, in this race, you can find some very, very different people. That means you have some CEO of companies and you have some workers in this race. They are not anymore CEO or workers. They are in the same camp, they have the same tent, they have the same things.
The mind that I need to tame periodically feels like it's at, a relative peace at the moment. Kind of found my own ways of treating myself. It's very severe, but I'll feel good for months, not days.
It's almost like you can't cool yourself down quicker than you're heating up, so it's just like a bit of a chess game, really. Keep your sodium levels right, keep the fluids constantly going in.
Dave, you go on.
My pee is like dark orange, almost blood orange. You've got such a huge calorie deficit. Your body's just eating itself.
It's a machine. It's widely regarded as being the hardest foot race on the planet. Essentially, you're there to get yourself through it. You are an island in the Sahara.
Flat and runnable, and then it just went into dune sand hell. It's just stifling. That was very difficult.
Job done.
So we're going down a route here where we're choosing to talk really openly about it. Most people don't have that, and they're just locked off to it, to the point that it's really alienates themselves from their own life. I see my son who's got ADHD and I see myself at his age. He can't help it. It's just electricity coming out of his every pore at different points, and he doesn't know what to do with that.
We know that 76% of ADHD can be described genetically. We've seen that through a whole lot of studies, particularly twin studies. Almost every case, if one identical twin has ADHD, the other has ADHD.
Negative mindset. Just haven't been able to get into a rhythm. The desert is a beautiful, beautiful place, but it's ruthless. Training of the mind. Pick yourself up, go again. Don't lose your focus and your temper. Take things in a balanced way, and then eventually you get what you want. More jeans. I had a horrible night's sleep. Mentally, I'm choosing not to be very positive right now, but the fact is, we've got one last push. It's been an amazing experience in some respects. It's been incredible just to talk to people so openly about ADHD. It feels like it's almost a relief for people to open up and talk about it, and perhaps we're assisting in creating a bridge to allow that to happen.
People say it changes you, you don't believe it, but it does change you. I think everyone here definitely has a story. I was meant to do it with my brother and he died, and then my mum's unwell, so I'm doing it to raise money for her hospital. Unless you've got a reason, you're not going to finish it.
I think sometimes you need to push your limits just to feel alive.
So I think it's just going home and appreciating things a bit more. Kind of puts it all in perspective.
There's nothing more valuable than actual examples of people who have got ADHD. People just don't like talking about it until it impacts them, or there's a kid in their family who's got it. Should it be taught in school what these things are?
Being more open, talking about it, and then knowing that having ADHD doesn't necessarily limit you from doing something.
It can be addressed far earlier, and before it gets a chance to develop into something a bit more suspect, it can be blocked off and re-diverted. That really is where this goes. But that isn't a quick fix.
A lot of pain.
This is the hardest thing I've ever done. Hands down, hardest thing I've ever done.
I think it's really important to help people find a diagnosis early.
A diagnosis turns the lights up, and suddenly you can see your mates, you can navigate. When we talk to people, we know how life-changing it is for them.
It's home time. We're going home.
Living with ADHD, you've got to make some quite big decisions. When to push yourself and when to be kind to yourself. You can only really do that if you really properly know, if you have a formal diagnosis.
There is a sense of sort of coming home, being understood, and that's really common when somebody has an ADHD diagnosis, is sort of coming to understand why they are the way they are.
It's like a light bulb, and you're so happy because you're like, I knew something was wrong. That explains everything.
I think he just was happy to go, yes, I do have that.
Where he comes into his own, though, it provides you with hyperfocus, especially around things that you're genuinely interested in.
And so the enlightenment of actually knowing is life-changing.
You've got the keys to the car. You can seek help for that. You can get medication for that. You can look at support groups.
You can start to really play to your strengths and manage your weaknesses in a way you just couldn't before.
Knowing how you tick helps you function. I think it could just lead to a happier, more informed you, which essentially is what we're all aiming for. It's a peace with ourselves.
2021, it just represented so many things. It wasn't just about the race. I stared into the void that year. This is a realisation of how far I've come. I've used something that I've probably known I've had for a long time as an extremely positive influence on many, many things. There's absolutely no doubt that it's meaningful and powerful if it can be understood, but that's different in every single child and adult, and that's why it can't be just labels. It has to be broader. I can see the finish line.